Hey guys, JJ here from the Residents of Evil, and you're watching Resident in Evil. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and make sure to subscribe.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، يعطيكم العافية. معكم أخوكم فواز الشهري، وجبت لكم مثل ما وعدتكم حبيبنا جي صاحب قناة ريزيدنس اوف ايفل. ولله الحمد بعد مقابلة ليدي ديمتريسك ومقابلة جيل فالنتاين وليون كينيدي والبرت ويسكر. الآن نكون مع جي إن شاء الله في هذا البودكاست ونتكلم فيه عن أمور كثيرة، من ضمنها طبعا أهمها أكيد ريزيدنت ايفل. هلو جي.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hi, how are you? How is everything?
I'm doing fantastic, man.
Please.
Yeah, no, it's just being here. I know we've been talking about this for a while, and now we're finally getting to chat about Resident Evil, and I just appreciate you inviting me on.
Thank you. We are also honored. Actually, here in Arabic community, if you know that, we have a lot of followers that they appreciate you especially, and the channel of Residents of Evil. How you provide the details and the news and the rumors about Resident Evil. Also, we noticed that in your channel, you always support the modders or the people who develop the games, especially the retro games, or let's call it the classic games. And of course, the interview of casting, how you bring Rebecca recently. It's a fabulous job. I think it's a very hard job to bring all this our childhood characters, we can call them, together, and which led also to the best thing that we will ask you, of course, later about it, the Keeper's Diary.
Oh, yeah.
This is one most anticipated movie I ever saw. It's better than the movies that produced by billion or million of dollars companies, and unfortunately they did not do even 10% of what you did. Welcome to our podcast, and if you say anything to Arab community, you are most welcome, JJ.
Appreciate that a ton, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. The content we do on the channel is just, we enjoy doing it. We're just passionate Resident Evil fans that just like to talk about it. I love to talk about the news. I like to speculate. I like to cover the mods because the modding community is incredible. And the Keeper's Diary was just such an amazing thing to be a part of. All these talented, passionate fans coming together to make that. It was honestly for me a dream come true. So I appreciate that you really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll start with the first segment. It's called Raccoon. So the first question about the fixed camera angle, then or let's say behind the shoulder camera or third person camera, and then the first person camera. The changes that happen in Resident Evil. Do you agree with it? Do you believe it's the time to shift between the fixed camera? I think you are the one who, I think you are one of the people who favorite the fixed camera angle. I believe so. So the changes that happen, do you believe this is the right time for changing, especially with the new generation? If you notice that the new generation of players, they don't accept the fixed camera angle. Actually, they are saying it's very hard to play games that have fixed camera angle.
Yeah,
so what do you think about the change?
So I think what players find difficult is the tank controls. And, when I think about it, when I was, 8 when I first played Resident Evil 2, I was just so fascinated by the game that I learned them. They were a bit complicated, but now it just seems that with the modern controls, modern camera system, that a lot of people have kind of forgotten, the whole fixed camera angles. And to me, I don't think the camera angles themselves are dated. I think it's a lost art. I do prefer the fixed camera angles. It just feels like it's the director's vision, and you're playing the game, but it's almost like you're watching a movie, right? Every angle is specifically placed in certain locations to give you that feel, that tone. Every room is different. It limits what you can see, so it creates a lot of tension. And I just personally, I love that style of camera system. Now, they have since gone to third person, which, is to be expected. That kind of seems like the modern audience wants that, and I'll admit, it's good. It's good. But what would I prefer? What would I like? In my opinion, like the perfect example, My favorite game of all time is the original Resident Evil 2, but I do think that the perfect made Resident Evil game is the Resident Evil 1 remake. They took everything special about the original, they only enhanced it, they added to it, they refined it. I mean, at that time and still today with the HD remaster, like it still looks gorgeous. And so
Wow.
that's kind of when I first was thinking, all right, we're getting a Resident Evil 2 remake, which is the most excited I've ever been. I was expecting to see that, and when I seen third person, I was still very excited. But I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed because that Resident Evil 1 remake set the bar so high.
Exactly. So the next question, yeah, classic or remake?
Oh,
Even like we'll talk about. Let's talk about 1, 2, and 3 and 4.
yeah,
So what do you think? A lot of people they will say definitely it's a remake because that graphic it's very really bad. But what they did not get in that time, what is the graphic? For example,
yes,
Resident Evil 1 remake, not remaster. Resident Evil 1 remake, I think it's released in 2002.
I believe so.
In that time, there is like I think Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. If you check the graphic,
Oh yeah,
wow,
yeah.
huge difference. What so in your perspective, what do you think which is better?
Now,
Not only the graphic, anything, everything.
I mean,
Over.
easy answer: the originals. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have this channel. Wouldn't have this, this community. Wouldn't have all these friends that I made if it wasn't for the original games or the games that got me into the series. So I'm not gonna lie. There's nostalgia to it. But if we go back in time to when Resident Evil 2 came out and I first played it, so now you play a new modern Resident Evil game and you're like, wow, those graphics are amazing. They're really good. We see a lot of games that look like that now, but at that time, I was so used to Super Nintendo games. I was so used to DOS games. So when I first seen Resident Evil 2, the graphics, it's hard to believe for newer players now to go back and play it, but at that time they were mind blowing. It looked so the amount of detail in that. In Resident Evil 2, for example, the CG cutscenes, or if you go back to Resident Evil 1, they actually had live action cutscenes, which was at that time it was way more mind blowing than now seeing the remakes. The remakes look great, but at that time it was just on another level. Now, when we get into the mechanics of the game, I feel like the Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 are the perfect trilogy. It's a perfect story through and through from the beginning to the end of Raccoon City. The characters you meet along the way, the variety of enemies, the locations, and just all the puzzles they added, the music. There's just it goes on. And now, while I really do appreciate the remakes, and I was petitioning for Resident Evil 2 remake ever since I seen how good they did with Resident Evil 1 remake, I enjoy them. They're fun games, but it'll never replace the original games for me. That's where it all started. And I do feel like, there was a lot of time and love and you put into that because it was a new series, right? Capcom was trying to do something, and when they put out Resident Evil 1, it ended up doing better than they expected, and they made a sequel, and that kind of took off. So they were really trying then. Now they know fans love it. They do want to make fans happy, but they also, they've already done it, and they're just now remaking it. That doesn't take away anything that they add or do or take away from the remakes, but it's just that's what started it. You know what I mean? And I do feel like the mechanics of the game is just going from 1 to 3. There's not a huge leap. I mean, mechanically it feels like a huge leap, but it's about the same style. But just the mechanics of it are just so perfect. The inventory system, movement, you're limited on your where you can see. I don't know. There's something about it that just kind of still holds up to this day, in my opinion.
Now we can see the main characters. Let's at least choose 3. I think is the most famous characters, which they are being in more than one game. It's definitely Leon Kennedy, Chris Redfield, and Jill Valentine. There is more deserve to be mentioned, but I will stop by 3. Do you think there should be end of their story?
I mean, okay, so if we go back to 1, 2, and 3, no, absolutely not. I want to see their story continue. And then we got 4, 5, and 6. It's like, okay, now we're getting a lot more of their story. Now we're on 7, 8, and potentially 9. You know, would I like to see it? I wouldn't like to see it, but I do feel like to add weight to the characters or to you know, give closure to something, because they do introduce a lot of characters that people know they love, and then they never give them closure. And as bittersweet as it would be to see an iconic character that we kind of grew up with, and you know, that we looked up to, like for me, Leon Kennedy, I looked up to him. He was like my hero. You know, I always thought he was so cool. It would be sad to see them go, but if it was done properly and it was a good send-off, it would add weight to the characters. It'd add weight to the story. It wouldn't feel like that no matter what, they're untouchable, like they'll always live. Like, it would actually make the world more believable and more grounded, and I think it would add to the overall story. Not necessarily them dying, but, you know, them, you know, either retiring or finding whatever makes them happy to kind of move away. I do think it's important to not continuously just drag their stories out, you know, because, like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
for example, Chris, right? You know,
I think I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I think Chris, there is an almost end of his story in the Rose expansion game. I think in that time, Chris is very old.
yeah,
He's not actually, we did not see him, but if you remember in the expansion for DLC for Resident Evil 8, you'll play with Rosemary.
yep,
In that time, I think it's 26 years later, which means Chris is almost above 60 years.
I think
It's almost.
I'm sorry, I think it was 16, but still, that he was already getting up there. 16 years is a pretty big gap.
Yeah. So in this time, she mentioned Chris when she held up the bodyguard, and she said, even Chris don't know what I can do. And that time, I believe he's almost 60 years
Yeah.
old. So that means almost it's kind of end of his story.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
let's say he become a consultant or something like office work or something, because 60 years old, like, and he's a normal. He there is no viruses in his body, so I think it's almost his end.
you would think that, but then Rose says he's still with the Hound Wolf Squad, so the Hound
I
Wolf
know.
Squad still exists.
I
Yeah, so
don't know,
I
60
mean,
years old playing with the 60 years old is kind of difficult. Anyway,
yeah.
just please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're fine. I just don't think that, you know, Chris's character, I don't think he'll ever stop. But I do feel like from the first game, where we get to meet Chris going into this new unbelievable experience, he's in way over his head, you know, and then seeing him kind of progress, and then we got, you know, Chris in 5, and he's kind of, or we got Chris in Code Veronica, then we got Chris in 5. And you know, you're really seeing him kind of his arc, and his arc is kind of going with Wesker, you know, and then you get 5, and that's like kind of like where it's like, all right, this is about Chris again. This is kind of focused on Chris. This is focused on Chris and Wesker's rivalry, and then he kills Wesker, and then they bring Chris back once again in 6. And I feel like if you take 6 as just not the game, just the story of Chris from 1 to 6, I feel like he had a really nice arc. I feel like he, you know, really, how would I say it? He kind of like, he's a huge part of Resident Evil, and I feel like between 1 and 6, it was a very nice arc for him. I feel like it was a nice closure if they wanted to send him off, or, you know, he walked out into the sunset, basically.
And
Metaphor.
Leon,
But then,
Leon,
I'm sorry, what?
and Leon, I think almost the
Yeah,
same.
yeah. But then they brought Chris back in 7, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, we're still doing Chris, and then they brought Chris back again in Village, yeah, and you know, now it's just kind of like, it's kind of like they're drawing these characters out, and it feels like Chris had a really good story arc, and it kind of concluded at the end of 6, and it's just, you know, I'm not against it. I love Chris as a character, and I feel like he was far better in Village than he was in 7, but it's just, I think a really nice story arc that concludes their characters would be fitting. I think that would be nice. You know, long story short, but I feel like it would be nice to see some characters have some closure.
My favorite point, Albert Wesker.
Yes.
after some time, I was thinking, why he's dead already? He should not be dead. He's kind of villain that he should stay all the way. Let's say the end of Wesker is the end of Resident Evil. What I mean, when the Capcom decide to not produce any more Resident Evil, then you can make Albert Wesker died in the last game. Now, actually, in an Arabic community, we are talking about Albert Wesker possible return in the Resident Evil 5 remake if it's done. Capcom, they announced officially there is a remake. Then most of the fans, they were discussing about two games, Code Veronica and Resident Evil 5 remake, which is possible to become. So if we say that Capcom decide to announce the Resident Evil 4 remake, do you think, what do you want and what do you think about the end of Albert Wesker? So there is, I remember just I talked with the Arabic community about so many theories, like the one who died in the Resident Evil 5 Classic is Albert Wesker clone.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
Which is already happened in Resident Evil 6, Carla Radimes and Ada Wong.
Yep.
It's already done, nothing new.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Resident Evil 5 remake if it's done, and what do you want from Albert Wesker as his hit?
That's a really good question. So yeah, they've done cloning. I personally am not a fan of the cloning at all. I feel like whenever you introduce something like time travel or cloning, you kind of break the story, because then it could be anything, right? You can go back in time and fix something. You can just clone other people, and I'm not a huge fan of cloning. I don't like it. I'm glad they kind of moved away from that. As far as they have a new canon in the remakes, and if they want to keep Wesker alive longer, they definitely can. There's a great chance that if they redo 5, they'll change it up a bit to where maybe he didn't die. Going back to him as a character, I mean, for me personally, he is the top of the villains. Like there's not been a villain since that was on the same level of Albert Wesker. And again, for me personally, going back to what I said earlier, when these characters can just continuously live and live and live, there's no weight to the characters. There's nothing at stake, right? So when Wesker died, yeah, it sucked because that was our best villain, and now that's his conclusion. And would I love to see Wesker back? Yeah. But they kind of already did that after 1 and then reappearing in Code Veronica. And now if they did that in 5 and reappearing in a new one, I would be excited. But at the same time, that weight of him dying and it's gone. And for me personally, I think what they need to do is they need to write another villain that is on that level. Like obviously we like Albert Wesker because he's been there and we had his villain arc, and then he they killed him. He's gone. Obviously people really like him as a villain because he was well written into the overall story they were going for. And now we get games where we get all these new villains introduced and they're done in a game. You got a villain, and then by the end of the game, they're done.
In the same part of the game, like Miranda, she died in the same time.
Exactly.
This. For Albert Wesker, he took a long of time, which is, I think, there is a connection between the players and him.
Yes.
All of the time. So if it's your decision in Resident Evil 5 remake to kill Wesker again, or to make him live in any way,
I would say that I think there needs to be conclusions. I think there was a very nice arc from where you started to where I would say he needs to die, and Capcom needs to write stronger villains that are not going to replace Wesker, but be up there. Wesker is a fantastic villain, a fantastic character, but you can't let your entire series that's gone on now to almost the 9th game just revolve around one villain. You need to build up these villains and write them around like a bigger story, not just a one and done. And Mother Miranda is a perfect example. With her story and what they introduced with that, it goes all the way back before Spencer, and it's like, whoa, she's really been here. And then all of a sudden, boom, she's dead. And it's like, that kind of seemed like a big moment that we just concluded in one game. Like, you know, that could have been an entire trilogy if planned out and written properly. And they really could have built up Mother Miranda as this like overall, you know, start of all of this, but they didn't. And I think they just need to write stronger enemies, stronger villains. And as much as I would love to see Wesker return, and as much as it would be exciting to see also, oh my God, he's back in Resident Evil 9, I feel like him dying adds weight to the character, adds weight to the overall story. And it was fitting that, you know, Chris and Wesker, they had a rivalry. And it finally concluded. You know what I mean? That's nice. Instead of having to just draw out.
Yeah. Heisenberg in Resident Evil Village, he have a potential to be almost like Wesker if they did not killed him.
Yeah.
Heisenberg, the characters, I think it's truly villain. But unfortunately, he died in the same...
you know, I was kind of hoping that, you know, Heisenberg was a villain, but you both had like the same goal. He wanted to take out Mother Miranda. You wanted to take out Mother Miranda. I was kind of hoping in that game there would be like this odd team up between Ethan and Heisenberg. Like not that they want to, but they need each other to take her down. And then then it could have went anywhere. Then they could have ended up fighting each other after. But I thought I honestly thought while I was playing that, I was like, oh, they're actually going to team up. This guy who was a villain is now going to become my ally. For when I first played it, I was thinking that's where it was going to go. I think that would have been pretty cool, like, you know, buddy villain.
Good.
Yeah.
Now we'll go to the... Okay. Now with the new segment, it's called Ethan. It's about the new Resident Evil. Resident Evil 7 and 8. Before I ask a question, let me give you my thought about these two Resident Evil. Beside of the great story, beside of the great gameplay, beside of the great graphics, I believe this is not a Resident Evil. Let's say if we change the title and we remove the small part of Chris Redfield, he's almost a small part, and we change the title, it will be great game. But when they add a Resident Evil title, I felt like there is something strange. You know, JJ, the concept of Resident Evil, it's a group of people or one man who's mad enough to think about creating a virus and injecting people to make the ultimate tyrant. And then by his mistakes, he create aside biological weapons. Then he decide to sell them. This is the concept of Resident Evil. And the heroes that we are playing are normal, who reflect of what's happening. Such as Leon Kennedy, he faced BOWs, then he's a normal guy who have gun, he tries to survive, blah, 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 blah. This is the end. Next game, some other scientists who develop the virus like this. Then suddenly, something black
mold
item or sub mold is coming without any introduction from the ground, and it goes inside of you. And then if somebody have the other mold, you can coordinate with him by mind. Wow,
yeah.
What's happening? It's the story. I told you at the beginning. The story it's excellent, but it's not a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So, what do you think about the changes?
I feel like
I hope you understand my point here.
Yeah, totally. No,
Yeah.
I do understand. A lot of people felt like when 7 came out that this is not Resident Evil. I remember watching it at E3 when it was first announced, and I was like, oh, there's no way this is Resident Evil. All of a sudden they said Resident Evil. I was like, holy crap, that is so different from what I was expecting. It was just a very different game. And now I do agree with you. They could have changed it to like a Resident Evil spin-off, like a Survivor or Dead Aim, and it would have been great. You know, it could have been that new sort of spin-off. They had Survivor first person, Dead Aim was kind of first person when you aim. It could have been the side series. I will say that when 7 came out, it was so different, but it was also so refreshing. After going from Resident Evil 6, and now while I do like the characters in 6, I like their stories, but the game itself I have a lot of issues with. But going from that over-the-top action back to a more grounded, slower paced survival horror game. I'm not gonna lie, it was very refreshing for me. I was like, okay, this might not be what everybody wanted. This might not be exactly how I envisioned it in my head, but it's a huge step back in the right direction. Very different, but a step in the right direction. And then Village came out, and while I had a ton of fun with that game, it started taking on those action elements as it started to get a little silly. We have lichens, and we have vampire dommy mommies, or whatever whatever you want to call it. And it's like, okay, I get there's this internet fascination with it, but where's the horror? It doesn't feel like that. It feels like we're moving more away from that horror and kind of what makes Resident Evil. I enjoyed the game, but you're right. They do feel different. Resident Evil is this one thing, and now it's kind of become this other thing. And it does feel a lot like when Resident Evil 4 came out. It was so vastly different from 1, 2, and 3 that, to me personally, it's crazy because I'm wearing a Resident Evil 4 shirt. When I first played Resident Evil 4, I was not a fan at all. I didn't like the new direction they were going. It was way too action heavy. There was too many silly things in it. It wasn't until years later I came around to really appreciate the game after, all the games that we've gotten since. And that's kind of what 7 was doing. It was just not expected, very different, very polarizing within the community. There's a lot of people that love it. There's a lot of people that hate it. And, it does kind of fit with the trend of what Capcom does. Every 3 games, they try something completely different. And I enjoyed the direction they were going, though my only complaint about 7 was they didn't include these characters that have unfinished stories. These characters we've been following. Like, where are they? Yes, we got new people in over their head, so you do have that. But, like Ethan, no personality. And I get it. That's what they want to do. They wanted you to feel like you were Ethan. But to me, I like to relate to these characters. I like to know these characters. I feel like I'm in it with them rather than I'm Ethan and I'm just, kind of a dud.
Yeah, we'll talk about Ethan, but I just remembered.
Yeah.
In Resident Evil 7, the first time you saw the new Chris Redfield, what's your reaction?
That's not Chris.
That's not Chris, huh?
That doesn't look anything like Chris.
Yeah, actually, Ethan. We'll talk about Ethan. I remember when I played the 7, I was like, what the hell? Who's this guy?
Yeah.
After playing with Leon and Chris, superheroes.
Yeah.
Then just suddenly playing with this one, I did not accept this character. But honestly, JJ, after completing the village, he was a great character. What do you think about Ethan as a total? Unfortunately, he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know why Capcom, they kept him dead. I don't know. Anyhow, he's dead. Now you can communicate with him only by the mold, if you had the mold or something like this.
Their
we
hive
called
mind.
it underworld or whatever. What do you think of Ethan?
I do feel like they greatly improved him. They took the feedback from 7 where he didn't have a personality, and they added so much to him. And his death at the end of Village was it was very moving. Like, wow, like I actually like Ethan. Now I can relate to Ethan. They added so much to him, and as a character, going from he's whatever because he doesn't really have a personality to, oh yeah, he's a father that was just on this journey to save his daughter, and he was just in the situation that nobody would ever want to be in, and he sacrificed himself, find out he's molded. Like, I like Ethan as a character because of Village. I feel like they added so much more to him. They did a good job of course correcting from 7 to Village.
Now we'll go to the most hated characters in my side, Miranda.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk, yeah, of course. And we'll talk about her relation with Oswald Spencer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I want to give you my thought about what's happening between Miranda and Spencer. Actually, it's like a promotion from Capcom to bring back Spencer, Resident Evil Village, and the Umbrella logo. Before the Resident Evil Village, it's not official, but everybody will know that the logo of Umbrella came from Resident Evil 5. And there is some chapter, if you go and you face the door, I don't know if you remember, it's shape of the flower. It's like Umbrella, exactly.
Yes.
In this case, it's definitely Umbrella. They change it. I don't know what the concept. Then, come on, JJ, the story of Spencer. He's the mastermind of Resident Evil. he's I don't know, he's the father of Albert Wesker. He's the one who created Albert Wesker in the beginning when he gave him the virus. Suddenly he become like baby boy compared to Miranda.
Yeah.
He lost in the blizzard, and then Miranda came to help him, something wrong, and then he was treating her like she's his teacher. Then he's telling her, thank you very much. Can I take a photo with you? Then he go back. This is not Spencer.
I don't like, yeah.
Also Miranda, when she found Spencer, definitely she had the mold already. Otherwise, as a girl or lady, she cannot go inside the blizzard and help somebody from the blizzard and bring him back unless she's have superpower. Miranda with the mold, she never leave anyone alive. How she let Spencer alive? There is something. It's like a net that you cannot open it. So I thought it's only because of bringing back the classic gamers to this
100%.
one.
I agree.
So I don't know what's this. Yeah, actually, they become they make Spencer a weak character. He's definitely very weak character. He don't know anything. So what do you think about the connection they made? I didn't get. It's not useful for me, this information. Actually, it's 2 minutes. You remember in the advertising when they reveal the logo of Umbrella, my expectation, like half of the game, it's about Umbrella. Then you know how much I counted, JJ? 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah.
2 minutes exactly. The way you look to the logo and the way when Chris saw the files and the picture.
Yeah.
2 minutes exactly. And I think half of the advertise about Umbrella. I was surprised. And also, if they want to bring back Spencer, even of 10 seconds, it's okay for me, but don't put him in this kind of a story. You make him weak. He's the one who fixed he's the one who opened the door to all villain. If you know Resident Evil 4 Sadler from the Blagger from the Stairways of the Sun, Derek Simmons, the Resident Evil 7 from everything came from him. Yeah. Everything, Code Veronica from him, Edward and Alexander, everything came from him. Then in 2 minutes, you make him the
lesser. You make him lesser.
Weakest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, Miranda.
What's your thought?
Yeah, I feel like that. I get where they were going with that, but I feel it was poorly executed and very forced. You're completely right when you say that it was just to get those old fans back on, like, oh wow, this is where it all started. But the way it was handled, the way that it was just so shoehorned into the game, and there's no real focus on it. It's just files you read, like, oh, this is where it started, and then that's it. And it seems like such a big deal to the series as a whole. This is now this in canon is what created all this. So it's what started all this, and we literally get to see it for 2 minutes, a couple files, the logo, and then you kill Miranda and it's done. And it feels like a very cheap way to try to appeal to the older fans that have been following it. And it goes back to what I'm saying is it feels like Capcom can't, like they use Spencer because he was just such an iconic character to the series, and they like, why can't you write another iconic character? Why can't you build a story that another trilogy that is not, so disconnected? Why can't we build up another character? Why do we have to go back, shoehorn this in to be the start of everything and undo what we've known this whole time just because we had such a strong character with Spencer and we want to make a nod to him? Why can't we just make something new, something original, something unique, something that we can build? There's a reason why they wanted to include Spencer, and it does kind of take away from the story as a whole, and it's just it's very, how would I say it, almost disrespectful to do that.
Exactly.
And then just finish it with, okay, that was a thing we did for one game. Yeah. One game we found out this is what started it, and in one game it all ended. Yeah,
they didn't make the connection in the proper way. I think this is this is why I hate Miranda. By the way, just I want to make it clear, JJ, when I say 2 minutes, I'm talking about 2 minutes. What is related to the past? Only the part when Ethan saw the umbrella and Chris when he read the files. This is only 2 minutes.
And that's what
So
it was literally 2 minutes. You would go through there, you'd see everything was like in that room. You read the files, and it was it.
That's it. And then you will meet Mia,
Yeah.
I think. Then you will meet Mia, yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I seen it and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. What are they doing? How are they going to handle this? And then it was over. And I was like, oh, man, they kind of just changed everything and
Exactly.
didn't really give it much
now
attention.
We'll go to the most annoying thing. Rosemary Power. Or let's call her Rosemary Dragon Ball.
Oh, yeah. Superpowers.
You saw her.
Yeah.
I call her Rosemary Dragon Ball. Come on, what is this? It's kind of if Resident Evil 9, JJ, it's completing or continuing Rosemary.
No,
Sorry.
it's not.
If what how it's gonna be? It's gonna be like you know the hack and slash games.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Resident Evil 4
It's definitely
was originally.
it should be like this.
Devil May Cry. Good thing they didn't
Exactly.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be like this. This is I don't know about it. What do you think about this one? Because I believe it's introduction for something in the future. Definitely.
I hope not. I will say this. It is absolutely not the direction I want to see the series going forward. Absolutely not. The only reason why I am accepting of it is because it all takes place within the Megamycete it's in her head. That's the only reason. I've always said that Superpowers in Resident Evil is dumb. If it's not explained in some sort of grounded way, like Albert Wesker.
It's not. JJ. It's not officially explained. It's all theories. If you're saying about in her head, it's still. It's actually I'm advanced in reading the story. It's still the Megamycete is it's theories. All theories. You cannot say it's inside her head because I can't reply to you and I say she can do it in the real life.
She does have powers in real life. You're right.
No, you remember in the ending of Resident Evil Village?
I can do things that
I have something. Even Chris, he don't know. I think, or so she can do it in the real life. Anyhow, I hope it's not. I hope it's not because.
Okay, so to that, you're not wrong. She does have power. Okay, what are those powers? Oh, we see them, but they say she's in the Megamycete. I agree with you. But I don't think the writers put that much time into it to really make it. Like, I think it's black and white. She was going to have powers. They ended up doing this DLC. Her powers are in the Megamycete. I don't think we have to look too far into this because I don't think they were thinking that far into it. I do personally feel like this was... Village did so well. We got to have something. Let's continue Rose. But we can't really introduce superpowers. Let's just do it within the Megamycete. I honestly, I wouldn't look too far into this because I don't think they put that much thought into it. It came after. They weren't even going to do the DLC until after the success of Village. Like, this is an afterthought. This is not something they planned they were going to build towards. It was an afterthought. And the fact that I felt like, okay, now we get to see a little bit of Ethan. We get to do this. It's a good conclusion to the Winter story, which I never really was super excited for the Winters. That was not something I'm okay to move on with it. Let's move on. The powers and all that, well, that normally I don't want to see that in my Resident Evil games. That is not even my biggest problem with that. My biggest problem is the plot armor they just gave Chris Redfield. 16 years in the future, he's still with Houndwolf Squad and he's still alive. That means if Chris Redfield ever returns in another Resident Evil game, because that was 16 years in the future, he's invincible. He's not going to die because we know he's still alive with the Houndwolf Squad. That completely got rid of anything we could have done with him as a character.
I get you. So let's say Resident Evil 9, it's the main character is Chris Redfield, and we are playing like after 1 year of the Resident Evil Village incident. So you will definitely know he will not die.
Yeah, he's not going to die. Houndwolf Squad's still around. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my biggest problem with the Shadows of Rose DLC, is the fact that they just jump 16 years and everything's okay. That if Chris is in a game, of course he'd probably
Yeah.
be fine, but at
Yeah.
least you never know. They could do a change up. They could add to his character. They could have him sacrifice himself or add weight. I thought he was going to in 6 and he didn't. I do feel like that would have been a really good
Oh,
sacrifice.
actually, you said a great point, JJ. You know what? There is a rumor, if you remember, there is one of the characters going to die. If you heard about, actually,
I did hear
you
that.
said
Yeah,
this one of, yeah.
it was in one of the videos. It was
So
one of the leaks.
if
rumors.
Resident Evil 9, yeah. So let's say if the Resident Evil 9, the timing, let's say it's after Resident Evil Village in 1 year,
Yeah.
and you are going to play with two characters, let's say Chris and Jill. In this case, Jill she's going to be died.
I hope not. I personally, if any character is gonna die, I feel like it should be Chris for a few reasons. And not that I don't like Chris is one of my favorite characters. I feel like literally when you look at Resident Evil and you look at the amount of impact on there's so many amazing characters. Leon's right up there. You got Claire, Jill. You have so many characters that you've grown to know and love. But Chris has been there since the beginning. Chris is where they're focused now. They kind of introduced him a little bit at 7. They gave him a much bigger role in Village, and then they teased at the BSAA being corrupt, and now we need to head to the BSAA HQ because we got clones, right, or bio weapons or whatever. But I think they're moving in Chris's direction again. So I feel like if you really look at Resident Evil, there's so many amazing characters, but Chris is primarily the character, and he will not stop until he finishes his job. He literally dedicates his life to this. He's a hero, right? So what better character to make go out a hero than Chris, where he actually would pass and stand for something, become a martyr, be a hero, an icon, right? Jill barely got love after 5. We got Revelations 1, Resident Evil 5, and then we never seen Jill again. To bring her back and then kill her right away would be crazy. There's so many people that want to see her back, and Leon is another one that potentially could, but it's just, I feel like Chris is true through and through a hero. And if anybody was going to pass, while it would be a huge shot to the series because Chris sells games, it would add so much weight. He'd go down a martyr, and whatever he stood for would live on. You know what I mean? That's kind of in my head. That's what I would always like to see.
Could you talk a little bit about Leon Kennedy? Because I feel Leon fans, they will be sad if they saw this broadcast without talking to him, because definitely you're talking more about Chris Redfield. What do you think about Leon Kennedy?
Leon's my favorite character of all time. The Resident Evil 2 is the first game I ever played. I looked up to Leon. I thought he was so cool, man. I remember back in 5th grade, I did my hair like his, and it looked so stupid, but I thought it was so cool. Leon Kennedy, he's a rookie cop in over his head, and then now he's a cool agent that,
DSO.
Yeah. And he's always that cool guy. When you, let's say Vendetta, Leon's like that John Wick sort of smooth, highly trained agent that's fast and quick, and then you got Chris, who is just a powerhouse, right? That's the two characters. And I always Leon has and always will be my favorite character of all time. His passing would be tragic, and arguably he might be the face of Resident Evil. He definitely could be. But I feel like his passing, while being would be very moving and very disheartening to a lot of people, I don't know if it would carry that heroic journey that Chris's passing would. I feel like Chris has always been I don't know. I would really have to think about that one, but I just feel like Leon has been gone now since 6, and everybody was in that game. And when we talk about 9, while I feel like it will be Chris because they kind of set him up at the end of Village, and if there's Chris, then there's got to be Jill. But I know a lot of people say Leon's been played out, he's done. Where we want to move on. I personally don't. I want to see Leon back again. I think that would be great. It really is all going to boil down to the writing. What is his story? How are we going to reintroduce another arc to him when he kind of had many different arcs in the series? He's in all the CG films. How would it depends on how they do it, but I would love to see him back.
Actually, they are saying that Leon is government guy now.
Yeah.
Definitely, he's a government guy. What do you think about his ending as U.S. president? It's imagination, of course, but I think he's going to this road or this target. He's becoming more and more related to the government. if you remember in Infinite Darkness in the Netflix series, last thing when Claire asked him for the information, he said no, I cannot give him. But then late and also there is theories. You know, Dylan in the last Resident Evil animation, Dylan, the last one, Death Island, I think. I forget the name. Sorry, last Resident Evil animation.
Death
movie.
Island, yeah, that was Death
Hey,
Island.
Death Island. Dylan, when he said, "Oh, Leon, you are covering your government who did so and bad things." So let me ask you about these things. Do you think Leon he knows something done bad things done by government and he knows about them and he's keep silent?
I think possibly, yeah. I mean, we had the
Sorry, don't
operation.
forget that. Just I'm sorry. Before telling, giving these words to Leon, he hacked the government system. Rebecca find out about that. This is a confirmation that Dylan saw something in the U.S. Government system, and then he said these words. That means he saw something
Yeah.
about Leon.
I think
What do you think?
I think Leon's been brainwashed a bit because after 2, when they recruited him, remember, he was forced into that. He was forced into that role. And I feel like at that point in time, he was so young and new to this world that he was accepting of it. And he just accepted blindly. He did what they told him to do because they recruited him into it. And I think seeing him battle between what he's doing now and what he knows is right is a really good addition to his character. He's battling between good and evil. While he is fighting for the government, he also knows that the government isn't perfect. Nobody's perfect. This is not a perfect world. There's a lot of gray area. And I feel like Leon at heart is good. And I feel like him seeing these things or him seeing things that he shouldn't see, I feel like that would be his, like he never wanted this. He was just brought into it and he's really good at it. But like, I feel like, eventually the good will prevail. He'll see the flaws of the system, and he'll start to fight against it. And I feel like Chris has kind of always been that way.
Chris, he will not accept this one. Definitely, if he's in
Yes.
in Leon's shoes, definitely he will just
would not accept it.
will be like a ball,
Yeah.
just straight away to the. But this is But actually, just let me pass to you this information. I want you to tell me if you agree with me or not about Chris Redfield. He's a single-minded, and single-minded means he just focus on one thing and he will do it perfectly. Let's say he want to destroy this organization.
Yeah.
He will just go and do it. But unfortunately, he cannot think what's happening surround him, like what's happened in
Right.
Resident Evil 6.
You're
So
right.
filmically, when he died like this, he was like focusing, for example, to catch Ada Wong, which is Carla Radimus. He did it. But by doing this one, he lost a lot of his teammates.
Yeah.
Do you agree about this one or
He's
not?
really
The old Chris, the new Chris definitely is not.
Yeah, he's really not good at keeping his team alive. I'll say that. But you have a very good point because he's so focused on the mission itself that he doesn't see the bigger picture because that's just who he is. He's good. He just doesn't see the bigger picture. And that's why BSAA keeps getting infiltrated. That's why there's still corruption in the organization he started, because he's not worried about overseeing this bioterrorism, defense force. He's literally just focused on his mission, and that's his fault. It's his strength and it's his fault, and that's why things like the BSA being corrupted now twice, or maybe even more times, it's because he's not overseeing it. He's just very focused on what the task is at hand, and that's why I say you got this like really cool character who is very slick, and you got Leon, and then you got this brute, and you got Chris, and I think that's what makes their interactions together so interesting, because at heart they're both great characters and they want the same thing. They just go about it different ways, and I think that's what makes it interesting to see them together. Is that, hey, we might not agree 100%, but when we work together, we really work together. You're
Actually,
the
yeah.
muscle, and I'm the sort of brains. It's a stretch, but you get what I'm saying.
there is a file in Resident Evil 6 that Claire, the first time they met together, Leon and Chris, it's by Chris' sister Claire. They met together, but they did not agree 100% about their situation handling. Leon, they want to do the jobs it's like a spy way. Who's going to? He wanted to be slowly going into the things. Chris, no, he did not agree. He just straight away, like
Punch.
a tank. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they didn't agree about this one. Good.
Yeah.
Now we'll go to a new segment called This or That.
I was waiting for this. Let's do it, baby.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
This is exactly. This is just for the people who's watching now. Actually, I want to ask you about. I will mention two names. You just have to choose one. Do not give me any explanation. Do not give me anything at all. Just I will tell you apple or banana. You choose. That's it.
Apple.
Okay. Apple. Good. This is first question. Let's go to the second question. Ada or Jill?
Chill.
Mr. X or Nemesis?
Nemesis.
Leon or Chris?
Leon.
Wesker or All Villain?
Wesker.
Spencer or Miranda?
Spencer. These are easy.
Spencer Mansion or Lady Dimitrescu Mansion?
Spencer Mansion.
RPD or Baker's Farms?
RPD.
Code Veronica remake or Resident Evil 5 remake?
I'm offended you would ask that. Code Veronica remake.
Zombie or Ganado?
Zombie.
Wow.
That was easy.
You answer them with confidence. It's good. Actually, you exactly match my choices.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Exactly, you match my choices. So,
That's why we get along so well and agree on a lot of
good.
things.
Exactly. This is exactly my choices. Let's talk about Code Veronica, the classic one.
Yeah.
Do you remember the time you just got the CD or you got the game?
Yes, 100%. So I was super excited for Code Veronica, but I didn't have a Dreamcast. My cousin had a Dreamcast, and I wanted to borrow it. And so I think I bought the game, but I didn't have the system. And so my cousin's he's super nice. And he's like, you know what, you can borrow it. And he let me borrow it for like a few months. I remember that. And I remember like sitting down and playing that with my cousin, who my cousin's older brothers got me into Resident Evil 2. I played it with them for the first time. When Resident Evil 3 came out, I got my cousin, my other cousin, I'm talking about I have a lot of cousins. I got my cousin into it, so my younger cousin into it. And so him and I went into that Dreamcast, and wow, that was just so, it was such a unique experience because the graphics at the time, man, the 3D, it's fixed, but it's a dynamic fixed camera angles, which I do prefer over fixed camera angles. I like the dynamic fixed camera angles. I love Until Dawn, Dino Crisis, Code Veronica. Yeah, where it moves around.
Which is
but
sometimes you see it just like moving a little bit.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
I remember that time.
That's my favorite.
I remember that time. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Continue. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, no, I remember like now seeing Claire again, and actually now like if we're going like really back, I remember seeing that intro scene with the helicopter with the Gatling guns, the craziest thing ever. But you remember how I said like Resident Evil 4 when I first played it, it was very out there. It was just not for me. It was just too different for the series. Code Veronica is where I first started thinking that, because I remember watching that scene. I was like, this is really cool. This is getting a bit silly. She's out running a helicopter with a Gatling gun. Not a big deal at all. The game was fantastic. We got all the way up into I think the plane where you were fighting the tyrant, and I remember I got stuck. I didn't plan properly.
Yeah.
There was a point in the game where I didn't
me too.
plan properly.
Yeah, me too.
You're
Then I found that. Yeah, then I found there is an Arabic magazine. They told me the solution. I forget how, but it was very easy.
Oh,
There
really?
is something you have. Yeah, I think there is the bazooka. You have the bazooka grenade launcher.
Yeah, the Spud launcher.
There
Hot
is
potato.
there is some ammo. Some color. I forget what is it. You have to collect it from the beginning and do not use it.
Yes.
And when you reach this tyrant, you can beat him easily.
Yeah.
Easily. You can, if you YouTube it, you will find it out. But I remember I stuck so many times about it.
that was before like the internet was very popular. That was like at a
Yeah,
time where the
yeah,
internet
yeah.
was just starting
Yeah.
to. I remember my aunt was the first one to get the internet. We'd walk to her house, which was a few houses down. We'd walk to it to print off like walkthroughs and stuff. But before that, it was just you have to figure it out. But it was it was stressful. It's frustrating. But that also added to the reward once you did complete it. You felt so successful because you spent so much time figuring it out yourself. And I feel like that's a problem with modern games is everything's just too easy. You can just go on YouTube and figure it out. And you know, I'm a victim of it. I do it too. But there was a time where you didn't have a choice. You just had to it was by word of mouth, or you had to figure it out or find a magazine that talked about it. And at that time,
Yeah, exactly.
we didn't didn't have that. I didn't have that magazine. And I think that's where we got hung up, and I never finished that game because of that point. But Family Video is like a movie rental store here when I was a kid. They were giving out Wesker's Report for free. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was the build up, the hype to Code Veronica. And I watched that thing every single night to the point where I'd watch it just to fall asleep. I was just so fascinated with it. And Corey Beck said, he's like, yeah, I remember sleeping at your house. And all I would hear is, you know, Richard Waugh's voice of Albert Wesker, which is my favorite, every night just to sleep. And I was like, yeah, I used to watch that all the time.
So the Whisker reports, it's giving you for free alongside with the Code Veronica CD, or just free?
Just the Wesker's Report. It was like a promotional thing. Movie rental stores, I think some of them were selected to just give them all for free. I still have it. I still have that.
Good.
Yeah, it was free, but one of my prized possessions because it meant so much to me as a kid.
Now we'll go to the followers' questions. What's the most difficult challenge you face by making the Keeper's Diary? Plus, just tell us about this masterpiece movie. Can I say something? Yes. Actually, when now we reach this point. The way the HTSD file, every single Resident Evil fan in the world, especially the classic, they know exactly what is this file, and it's have a unique title. We called it HTSD.
Yeah.
Everyone in the world, I don't believe any fan of Resident Evil he don't know this one. And wow, JJ, the way you handle it, the way you let us see in the eyes when he's writing the memo, what happened exactly. This is actually fantastic job. I love this movie. I saw it like 3-4 times. Unfortunately, it's a little movie. I thought it like, no, not I thought. I hope it will be like unlimited. Not only, I don't think I will say 1 or 2 hours. I would say unlimited. Excellent. But I noticed the girl, she was only in the small part. I don't know why you bring her only in the small part. Is there something in your mind? Is there something new in the future? I don't know.
Well, I really appreciate that, and the team would be very grateful to hear that you enjoyed it so much. Thank you for all your kind words.
This is believe me, I'm sorry just to interrupt you. I just want to confirm this one. If you go in my Instagram, unfortunately it's in Arabic, you will see dozens of replies about this one. They just want to thank you. Arab community, they want to thank you, and they don't want you to stop. They saw a teaser about Dino Crisis. They become little sad, even if it's a good thing. But no, they want JJ to be only Resident Evil. They are saying like this, come on, JJ, continue Resident Evil. It's good, we appreciate that. But come on, Resident Evil.
Yeah, and I get it.
The major thing that I just want to focus about, you just let me. Before I was feeling how when he wrote the memo, I was thinking how he looks like and like this. Now I just thank God. Now I saw it. So thank you very much.
I think that's the best thing you can say is because everybody has their own interpretation of that story. We have all read it. It's very iconic, and it goes on to this day. And the fact that you can say that you had your vision, now you've seen this film, and now you have that was like your vision. I think that's the most that couldn't have asked for a better outcome, right? To tell it in live action, because that could have went so many different ways. It could have been that's not how I envisioned it. That's not how I envisioned it. And I think the fact that everybody enjoys it, the reception to it has been incredibly positive. We were hoping it would be good, but we didn't know it would be as good as it was, and we are very grateful. I do think, though, there's a few things I just want to clarify before we discuss it. when it comes to, why did you make this choice? Why did you do that? I do want to clarify. I was part of the project. I had some say in the project. I provided some assistance to the project, but that was the director, Andrew Solo, actually. He's the one that made the choices. He's the one with the vision. We respected Andrew's vision. We believed in Andrew's vision. Andrew is the one that came to me with this project, and we believed in him, and that's why we wanted to do whatever we could to help make this a reality. And thankfully to the Resident Evil community, which is to this day, after almost 8 years, it's almost 8 years on YouTube, and then far longer on fan pages that I ran, it never ceases to amaze me how supportive and strong this community is. And all this wouldn't be possible without everybody that's watching right now, those that supported the Keeper, those that just tune in to watch it and hit that like button and share our videos. Like, it's mind-blowing. But when it really boils down to creative decisions, I may know some information on it, but a lot of that was just us trusting in Andrew's vision.
Okay, so now, which this is lead me to something else. Now, of course, it's a limited budget.
Yes.
And we say in Arabic, mashallah, that's mean wow, it's excellent. Why the big billion companies, they cannot do something like the vision you have done in your movie? It's very simple. It's very, I don't know, like, you remember the first movies, I call them Alex movies, because it's about the Alice movies. I call them Alice movies. It's the weird thing, they make really good revenues.
They made good revenue. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. But I don't know what is this one. You remember when she fight Nemesis? Nemesis, he become a poor guy. He's very poor guy.
She was punching and kicking him. I was like, that's Nemesis. What
I
makes
know.
You think
He's very
fight
poor.
Him? Yeah.
Liquor in the movie. The liquor in the movie is stronger than him.
Yeah,
than
that's crazy.
And then we go to the Albert Wesker Netflix.
Oh yeah,
we called it. I don't know what they want to. I don't know what. Honestly, I want to be frank with you. When they change his race from American, a blonde American to African American, we respect the races. But come on, if you want like African American hero, there is a Resident Evil like Marvin Brana. He's like a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Bring his story. Do not change the things. Do not change it. And then the result came.
Yeah.
And it's a flaws.
And
Definitely. You want to
canceled.
do something in your mind, just handle it. And then the Resident Evil, what's called? Last one?
Welcome to Raccoon
the movie,
City.
Welcome to Raccoon City. It's not a welcome at all.
No, not at all.
What do you think about the movies?
Oh man.
Why? Who's the one who decide about the story? What's called? You are into movies now.
Yeah.
What's his name? What his title? The one who decide what is the story.
The writer.
The writer. What he's thinking when he said, I want to change Wesker. I want to do like this. I want just stick to the plan. Somebody says, if you make a movie exactly as the game, everybody will know everything. No, you can't change. You have so many things you can change. Like example, JJ Outbreak games. All the characters.
Yeah.
You can choose one of them, and you can make an excellent movie like this. Make the beginning of Outbreak in Resident Evil 2 and 3. The beginning of the Outbreak. Nobody knows what happened. Do it. Like, you have so many things you can do to fill up the story of Resident Evil. Do not make Leon like a chicken in the Outbreak. The Welcome to Outbreak. Come on. I don't know why. What do you think about the movies?
Let's kind of go back to changing things or rewriting things or making adjustments. The games are obviously very popular, and that's the reason why they're making movies. Then you have writers. You hire writers. And they give them their creative liberties, and they think that they can write it better. And they try to they might not be a fan, they might not be passionate about it, they might be aware of it, but they always think they can do it better. And it's like, hey, hold on, pump the brakes. The reason why we're here is because the games are successful. Obviously, they are doing something right. So why do we need to rewrite it when it's already been written? The Keeper's Diary is a perfect example of that. That's just a few pages. We, made a 15-minute fan film based off of a few pages because the source material is there. If you respect the source material, it doesn't have to be one-to-one. If it was one-to-one, just play the games. The games already told it perfectly. It's never going to be one-to-one, but you can still respect the source material. You can still respect what was already written. Obviously, we're doing this big Hollywood budget movie because it's popular, because people like it. Why do we need to change it? It's there. If you have to do something original, if you have to do something different, just make something different. Don't put the Resident Evil name on it. The Netflix series is a perfect example of that. What was that? Who was that appealing to? What were we? Are we trying to do like the Alice movies again? Because at least the Alice movies were at the original beginning of it. They were similar, but then they went off course. This is just different, And I never even finished that. I got to episode 3, and I realize now, getting older with kids, full-time job, I love Resident Evil. I love this series. I've been there from the ups and downs. I realize, if there's something that is just not resonating with me, it's not jiving with me, it's upsetting me, I'm not going to spend any more of my time on something that's just so so that I'm not into, right? But I watched all the Alice movies. I watched the Welcome to Raccoon City. There was a time when I was younger where I wanted nothing more than a Resident Evil movie. I remember being online for one of the first times and stumbling across a screenshot from George A. Romero's Resident Evil 2 trailer. And I thought that was a movie, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is this? I want this!" And I would just research forever, and then shortly after they announced the movie.
Unfortunately,
and I went
they
and
cancel it.
Yes, yeah, and then the movie itself he was doing, that guy, which is crazy because he's the one. The games were inspired by him. It would have. Anyways, they announced the movie, and I went into that just lit up with excitement. I wanted that movie to be good, and I remember coming out of it. I was excited because I was finally seeing a Resident Evil movie, a live-action Resident Evil movie, but I also remember right there, like, what was that? What were they doing? I had fun, but what was that? And then I remember shortly after Dawn of the Dead remake came out, and while I was watching that intro where she was driving in the car and things were exploding and there were zombies, and I was like, that's what I wanted. I wanted Raccoon City like that. I still to this day I have a lot of nostalgia for a few of the Paul Anderson movies because I went and seen them when I was younger, and I kind of made it a thing. I kind of understood it was just so far different. Don't even compare them, but it was just like a turn off your brain popcorn thing you do every couple of years. But I remember thinking what is this? What are we doing? And it's like movies, games adapted into movies as a whole at that time. It was very rare that you'd find anything that was good to the point where you're like, is it even possible? It doesn't seem like it would be that hard. Why is this so hard? And then there was shows like The Last of Us or Fallout that prove you can do it if you just respect the source material. It doesn't even have to be, it could be set within the world. It doesn't have to have the characters. The characters are already in the games. They're great. If you want to include them, sure, but as long as you respect the world that's built within the boundaries of the world, it can be good. Very long story short.
No, it's okay. J. Anderson movie script, I think it's published. Do you think about making a movie of it?
Oh, that would be so cool. I would love to, but at the same time, I don't feel like I could ever. Me personally, no. It would be my talented team, that are far more experienced with this. It would be so cool, but I don't think we could ever. A George A. Romero film needs to be done by George A. Romero. It might be a fun nod or appreciation to it, but I don't think you could capture what George A. Romero could capture in his own film. And now thinking about the George A. Romero Resident Evil movie, there's some things out there that, some people maybe don't agree with, or like, well, he was going to do this or that. A lot of those decisions were made by the studio, putting their input in. So he would change a few things to please the studio. It seems like the suits always have their hands just way too far. You hire these people because you trust them and you like what they do, but then all of a sudden you change what they do and you tell them what to do. It's like, why even hire them to begin with?
Exactly. And there is actually in the Welcome to Raccoon City, there is some kind of clips. I call it clips or some movement which is very good, like the Spencer mansion. It's
yes.
At least we saw it in the movie,
Yeah,
and the RBD and the Raccoon Street. And you remember when the alarm just started? It was wow,
I
amazing.
did like
These
that.
things, yeah,
Yeah.
these things is actually it's kind of Resident Evil. Other than that, what we do
But
now?
we have to. I
Yeah,
mean, the good that came from Welcome to Raccoon City is Andrew went and seen it, and at that point he was just so done with it that that's where he got the idea of the Keeper's Diary, and that's when he first started approaching other creators. That's when he came to me, because
so
he was just
actually,
fed up with Hollywood.
I'm sorry. You didn't answer the question for that, but Paulo, what's the most hard thing you as a JJ in making the movies? Like,
As a
yeah,
JJ, I can answer that. So I can't speak on behalf of like Andy, the producer. His most difficult thing was coordinating. That's impossible. Andrew was getting the set done and getting the film shot, within the time limit we had. Speaking on behalf of them, I'm trying to think of what. But for me personally, my involvement with it would be the building that we were filming it in. I had to get it ready for people, and I didn't have a lot of time, and I was very busy with work and Ro and my kids. So for me personally, this building that we're using, the building that I'm actually in right now, this was an old casting factory. My dad owned it. It was his business, and for over a decade they ground castings in here. So this place is just covered in iron oxide. It's dirty. It's a manufacturing machine department, and it's been that way forever. So my dad got a new building, and this building was just sitting here, and we're thinking about, we need a big space to film this film. Where could we film it? And I just went and I asked my dad. I said, you guys aren't using that. If I was to go through and kind of fix it up, would that be okay? And after some discussions, he said, yeah, we're not. It's just a storage place, and it was like, awesome. We have a location. Let's go. But then we realized, very quickly realized, this place is in no shape for people. It's in no shape to be filming a movie. And so myself, Corey, Bob, we had a few weeks, and we went through and we ripped out the ceiling, we ripped out the floor, we filled in, we patched the wall, we painted the walls, we replaced the ceiling, replaced the lights, and it was, at that time it wasn't perfect, but we got it into a state where it was okay. But it was just like, this is happening, we have the place, but we don't have a lot of time to get this ready, so we just need to move. So every day after work I would be here till 9-10 o'clock at night, and then I'd have to get up at 4 in the morning, and that was like that for a good 2 to 3 weeks, just to get this place ready to film the film. So that's for me personally. That's not for the team as a whole. Everybody had different challenges. And that's the thing, is this was one big collaborative film. There were so many different things going on, so many things in play. And honestly, I'm just shocked that it all came together, with all those moving pieces.
Good. Thank you. Now, to the next question. Most of the questions about Whisker. Oh my God, the fans, they just want him back.
Yeah,
they want him back, JJ.
I'm well aware, people, I see it every day, I want Wesker back, but that's the problem. Why can't we write another villain that's as good as him? Why do we have to always rely on what we had before? He had a great arc. I would love to see him back too, but that's only because nothing else can replace him, because they don't write new enemies or villains that are on that same level. They don't put that much time and attention into it like they used to. I mean, it's very showing. If you look at 7 and 8, right? It's the villains they write now are cannon fodder, basically. They're just there to fight and die. They don't have a bigger arc. They don't have an integral role into where things are going. They're just lame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So now the next question. What do you think about the next games? Of course, you are the one usually having the most rumors, and you talk about it in your channels. What do you think about Resident Evil 9?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I thought about it a lot. I'm not a writer myself. There's things I would like to see. There's things that I would like that probably are stupid. I would like to. Number one, I would like to see the series go back to a more grounded in reality, biological, grotesque, I would say, gore horror. Mutations. I want to move away from. Well, it was interesting they went a mythological route. I kind of want to move away from that. I want to go back into shady research that just creates nightmares. I want the series to slow down. I want it to be more focused on horror. And if that means removing some of the fun features like a quick dodge or a parry system, well, I thought they were great. If we have to remove that to slow it down, that's fine with me. I thought Resident Evil 2 Remake was a perfect example of how to do modern survival horror.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was just paced
Exactly.
really
also,
well.
Also 4 and also 3, which is this is the next question. But sorry, there is a question before it. Ada Wong.
Yes.
Is she a good girl or a bad girl? Because we called her a gray. I don't know if it's common in America or not.
Yeah, I think I
gray
know it.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, a gray
In
person.
between.
You don't know he's good. But in the remake, I think she show more passion about the people. Before,
Yeah.
Ada Wong, before she don't care about anybody, if he's died or not. Now in the remake, she refused to give the Wesker the blagger
Yeah.
because she knows from him that he don't care about the people or the population. So she refused. That's mean it's making me confused. Who is she? In the timeline, last Ada is the Resident Evil 6. I think so, sir. Yeah. Last in the timeline,
Yes.
last appearance
Yes,
in Resident Evil 6.
Yep.
When she destroyed the Siemens lab, she get a call from agent to do a bad things. If you remember, JJ, in the ending of Ada campaign in Resident Evil 6, she was saying this is beyond humanity or whatever, and then she's just firing in the lab and she destroy everything in the lab, and then she got a call and she said, oh, a new job, that means something related to virus, that means she's a bad.
Yeah. And now
but
that's
in the remake, this is about timeline, this is the last thing happened to Ada, last thing we know about Ada. But in the remake, she refused to give Wesker I forget the name, the plug.
Yeah,
to him.
Yeah, the what was it? The Alpha Plagas or something. It was like the
No, I forget the name. It's here. Yeah, I know. Anyhow, I'll put it here in the editing. She refused to give him. That means she's good. So what do you think about Ada now? Now at this moment.
Yeah, I mean,
if I told you choose, you have to choose. For example, just to give you, I want to know what do you think about her. If I told you you have to choose, JJ, what do you choose?
It's too difficult to choose because if you look back at the original Resident Evil 2, yeah, she's a very conflicted character. While she turns on you because she wants the G, you can tell there's something there, and then she ends up helping you at the end with the rocket launcher, right? But if you look at the epilogue of Resident Evil 3, she's conflicted. She doesn't know who she is anymore. She wants to be good, but she doesn't know how to be good, right? So that confliction of her character has always been there. It's never really gone one way. Is she good? Is she bad? But I think that's what adds to her character is you don't know. There's a mystery behind her. Who is she? Who is she working for? And giving her too much context takes away the allure of the mystery. It's gone. You know, in your mind, when you think of this character and they only give you little tidbits here and there, your mind thinks of who is she? And your mind is always going to imagine things that are going to be far superior to what you see because it's not how you envisioned it. This is how I've envisioned her going. Why is she going like this? And I know a lot of people want to see an Ada game. They want to see a Hunk game. The problem with that is there's these characters that the reason why they're so special and is because of the mystery. It's you're thinking of it in your head. You're making your own assumptions. But once they tell it, if it's not what you envisioned, it's not the way you've seen it going, it's ultimately disappointing. Good reference to that is the Boba Fett movie, right? I don't know if you watch Star Wars, but Boba Fett was this character you've seen for a couple seconds, and he kind of lived on in Star Wars fandom as this, who is this guy? And then they made the Boba Fett show, and it's like, oh, I would have rather him just have been a mystery. Now this kind of ruins it. And that's kind of how I feel with Ada and Hunk, is they're those characters that are so impactful because they're a mystery. It's the allure. Once you break that allure and you tell their full story, it's gone. The mystery's gone. What makes them unique, it's gone. You know what I mean?
But Hunk he did not appear too much. Actually it's only in one game, Hunk.
Well, I mean, Hunk's been in a few.
And Resident Evil 2 remake. No, as a story wise, as a canon story wise, he's only in
Oh,
Resident
okay.
Evil 2 remake, and some of the Umbrella, sorry, Operation Raccoon City. It's a canon what if, so he's
Yeah,
considered it. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay.
technically we got a little bit of his
Yeah.
story.
Okay.
Again, the Resident Evil 3 had amazing epilogues. The only one that really was conflicting was Claire's, and I'll talk about that in a second. But Hunk had one too. You know, he's just known as Mr. Death. He's just a soldier for hire. He's a soldier for hire. That's it. He just does the thing
Yeah.
that he's told to do. And I'd argue he's bad at
Fantastic.
keeping his team alive too, because they all died in Resident Evil 2. But you know, that's what
But
makes
the difference between him and Leon and Chris cares about his team. He don't
Yes.
care, I think.
I don't think
don't
I
care.
think he's in it for himself. He's a lone wolf. You can give him
Yeah,
a team,
exactly.
but at the end of the day, he's in it for what is the job and for him, right? And I love Hunk.
Exactly.
I think Hunk is such a cool character. But you know, going back
Wow.
to Ada, you know, we don't want to give her. Maybe some people do, but we don't want to give her too much to her character, because then we start to break that mystique of
Yeah, exactly.
she's behind
There
the
is-
scenes.
there
She's
is-
always
yeah.
working behind the scenes. She's the one she's like the puppet master behind the scenes, making things happen. You start telling too much of her, and I think 4 did fine. I think 4 remake did fine. I really enjoyed the Separate Ways DLC. I felt like it was a proper B scenario, like more proper than the Resident Evil 2 remake B scenario, because that's not a good B scenario. There's just so many things that they could have done that they didn't, and even Capcom said like it's not A and B or B and A. It's not Jill and Leon or Leon and Jill. It's literally whatever one you want to be canon. It's canon. That's what Capcom said. Whereas Resident Evil 4, the main campaign, and Separate Ways is like proper A B scenario.
Okay.
Going
Good.
on tangents now. I'm starting to talk about a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. No, actually, I like it. Really, really. Thank you very much, JJ.
I appreciate it. My pleasure.
Thank you. For Hank, they said there is a game. It's cancelled for Hank. I think it's Resident Evil Dash. Do you know think about it?
Dash. Oh, I made
you
a.
remember?
Oh, wow. That goes way back.
Yeah.
It was one of
It's
the most.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, it was after Resident Evil 1. It was one of the most fascinating things I stumbled upon when I was, just starting the channel. I made a whole video on it. I researched it, and
I
that
saw
video,
it on time actually.
yeah, that video did really well. People were really interested in what it was just like me, and started talking to people that have been around in the community and researching these things a lot longer. And they're like, "No, this was never a thing. This was early ideas of, this was scrap concepts for Resident Evil 1. This was ideas for Resident Evil 0. Like, this is never a thing. Like, this was a napkin idea that you've turned into a video." And I was like, oh, man, that's unfortunate. I really thought this was a thing. I was just taking articles and things I found and putting together a video about it. But then, over time, I met more people that are really, like, I know some people that I could only dream of knowing the lore that they know, or knowing the people they know, having the files that they have. Like, there's so many people that just have archives of Capcom stuff that's not public. And he said to me, he's like, no, that actually was an idea, and like your video was fine. I was like, oh, okay, that's more reassuring. I didn't want to lie to anybody at that time. I thought it was a legit thing, and he kind of like said, yeah, it was. Dash was an idea of an early idea of Resident Evil 2 before Resident Evil 1.5, of returning to the Spencer mansion after it exploded, and it's all overgrown, and basically the plants you got hybrids of zombie plants, and and Albert Wesker was going to be down there, and he was going to become something. It's been a while, but yeah, it was an interesting concept.
Yeah, the zombie plants. Actually, I think they took the idea of the zombie plants in Resident Evil 2 as an IV.
Yeah, we actually seen zombie plants. We finally got to see what that concept was in Resident Evil Outbreak. Which was
Exactly.
interesting.
I saw it.
Outbreak
Yeah,
File
yeah.
2, I think it was, the hospital.
Yeah.
That was
No,
cool.
actually, yeah. When you're going to the hospital, Resident Evil 3 remake, JJ.
Yes.
What happened to this game?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm just kidding.
Dude,
It hurts. It's like
it's only about the length of the game. This is the I think this is the only things. And what's led to it? By cutting the game, that's mean you remove so many places like the garden or the garden. I think it's called garden, and the clock tower definitely, and the sewers. A lot of sewers.
they removed so
like
much.
this.
So much of the heart of that
Well,
game, so much that made that game special was removed.
The rumors say because of Resident Evil 8 release date, or they want to release the Resident Evil 8. This is why they push the team to make it quicker. I don't know. Do you think this is?
It's hard to speak about because I do know people that were part of that, and I kind of do know what happened with that. Deadlines were a thing. Definitely a thing, and I don't want to speak too much on it. I don't want to say anything that maybe is not public. At this point, I've seen so many leaks, rumors that I don't even know what is what anymore. So I stay on the safe side, right? But inevitably, the remake we got didn't live up to what it could have been or what people wanted, including myself. It was, when I think of Resident Evil 3 remake, I think of missed opportunities. It just fell short. It fell short. I remember going through that game, just being like, "Where's that?
I don't know.
Where's that?"
I don't know.
At the kicker at the end was, "Where's Barry?" That's kind of the nail in the coffin there on that game.
Yeah,
being at the very end and
just
not even having him.
Just no Barry.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. I remember I remember that in that time I was fearing of the spoilers, so I blocked everything, almost everything. I called. Then suddenly my brother came, and he's not that fan to Resident Evil. Then he told me, "What happened?" I said, "What?" He said, "Resident Evil, they finish it in 1 hour only." Resident Evil 3, this is the surprise about it. I remember this time. I said, "What? Only 1 hour?" He said, "I swear to God." I said, "No, you're joking." He said, "I swear to God, it's 1 hour. People are talking about they can't finish it in 1 hour." This is the first official info about this one. This is what's making me very, very sad about it. Now, JJ, if I said somebody, they are asking about the story-wise, what is the best? Give me the top 3 Resident Evil story-wise.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. So 3 is the best one.
No, I don't think anyone. I mean, at that point, it all boils down to preference. If you want my best one, I'd say 2, because that's the one I started with. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the villains, I love the enemies, I love all of it. Everything is perfect for me. But like if we're really breaking it down and thinking about it, yeah, I mean the stories are told really well in the remakes. I mean the acting is the acting and facial capture and everything. It's enhanced. Like look at for example Robert Kendo's story in Resident Evil 2, the original. He was just a goofy guy that was just trying to help you, right? He meant well, and he was gone. But then you take Resident Evil 2 remake and you're like, wow, holy crap, they hit me right in the feels. Like I wasn't expecting that. Arguably, that's a better version of that character. When you ask me, though, my nostalgia and what I love. So it's a very difficult question to answer. I can only speak on behalf of myself, who is influenced by my nostalgia, by what I grew up with, by where the series has gone now because of what's come before. And that's why I say 1, 2, 3. I feel like it's the perfect trilogy. It honestly started the outbreak and then concluded with the destruction of Raccoon City. And to me, it doesn't get better than that. But to others, you could argue 4 remake did a lot over the original. You can say Resident Evil 1 is a far better retelling than the original Resident Evil 1. It's all subject to opinion.
Now, when you brought Kendo, I just remember his daughter.
Yeah.
If you remember in the trailer, they show her just like a second or 2 seconds in the reveal trailer.
From behind her, where there was that kid zombie, and everybody was speculating there was gonna be kid zombies.
Yeah, kid zombie. No, I thought about Evelyn, and I was very afraid. Really, I scared.
Oh,
I said,
no.
no, please do not bring something like this.
Yeah, I didn't think of that at all.
No, I think about it. I said, oh my God, no,
Don't
please
do that.
don't bring her back. Don't.
Yeah.
I think maybe she's from, she's long time ago. There is Evelyn.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry if I explained.
No, you're explaining it right.
From 1998, there is Evelyn.
Yeah.
This is what I thought about it. Thank God it's not.
Yes.
Someone from Forwards, he said very good things. Actually, he's asking you if it's possible or not. In Resident Evil 5, there is a file talk about Henry Travis. the one who traveled all the way to the Indibaya kingdom to bring to find out about the stairways of the sun, the flowers,
okay.
the blaga. He's a guy who make a book. I forget, sorry, the name. It's he talk about he's going to Africa and then he find out this stairways of the sun. He studied everything, then he make a book. Natural History of Conspictus, I think this is the name of the book.
Okay.
The,
Did you find that in the lab after you went down? You found it in the lab. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, it's multiple files, but all in the same chapter.
All in
I
that
think
area,
so. According to my memories, it's this one. This is the oldest character in Resident Evil. We know only about his name. He's a guy. He used to. His father. He used to own a shipping company in the ancient time, which is ships, the wooden ships, and he was like spoiled. So he want to discover the world like this. Then he find out there is a city that their people is superhuman. So he get excited to explore it. Then he reached to the Indibaya. Then he go inside Indibaya. Then he found out everything. Then he make a book. Then he go back to his family in Europe. Then his older brother, he spread a rumor that his brother is crazy because he's saying there is some kind of a flower making a man superhuman. This is his request to you that how about making a movie about it?
I think
It's
that'd be
only
fantastic. There's something about that idea that I love, and that idea is seen in many different forms of media. Something that reminds me of, it's not the same but similar, is like the Dead Space book, The Martyr, something ancient that's doing things to people. Like this ancient thing that we find that, and now going back to Resident Evil 4 and now loving it when it first came out, I love the idea of something ancient there that that is uncovered and it creates like this cult-like mentality, and to go back to Resident Evil 5 with the Stairway to the Sun, with that, I personally I think that's a fantastic synopsis. I love that it went from there to where it has gotten with the games, and I feel like that's honestly a perfect prequel to how this all began. I really 5, a lot of people don't like 5 because they don't like the over-the-top action. They don't like the silly moments, the enemies. But like as a story and as what it did for not only for Chris and Wesker and their rivalry, but for what it did for the background lore, like that game is a fantastic addition to the overall lore of Resident Evil. And I would have to read that again because it's been so long. And when you talk about it, I get little vague memories of it. It's been so long since I read it.
Yeah, actually, there is now a lot of Resident Evil games that you cannot just focus on each one of them. It's too much that sometimes you forget. I face issues. My big problem with Resident Evil, the names. Usually some easy names I just forget. This. The names, the character names. Like sometimes I want to explain something. Sherry. Sometimes I forget Sherry Birkin name.
Yeah.
Because of too many names.
Yeah.
This is a good question. The forgotten characters, such as Billy Coin in Resident Evil 0, Carlos Oliveira in Resident Evil 3, Jake Moller in Resident Evil 6, Sherry Birkin in Resident Evil 2 and 6, Outbreak characters, all of them. Those things, they deserve a new games from their side, from their about their story. There is iconic characters like Billy Coin is really badass guy. I know he ran away because he faked his death, but you can't bring him. It's a game in the end. You can't bring him back.
Yeah.
I gave you an example, JJ. There is a lot of characters.
I can go in a lot of places with this. Robert Kendo.
Remember, there is Robert Kendo and Leon friend. Ark Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah, Ark. I like Ark.
He's a friend of Ryan Kennedy. So where is he? Where
No?
is he? He's a friend. He should be at least in some games, at least cutscene, something. He just disappeared. What do you think about the, we'll call them forgotten characters?
Yeah, I mean, Capcom forgot about them, so we'll call them forgotten characters. You know, over time, Capcom's kind of got a way of like introducing characters, and people grow to like these characters, and then they're just forgotten. And like with Resident Evil 1, you had, you know, the stars plus Rebecca, right? And then eventually we've seen a lot of those characters. So we started seeing these characters multiple times, and then we get the characters like Billy, one and done. Characters like Piers, which was my favorite secondary. I loved the dynamic between Chris and Piers, was just fantastic.
Excellent.
Like Piers pulled Chris back in. He died. He's gone. And that's fine. What I mean by that is fine is like I don't expect to see him back because he's dead. But like Sheva was a fantastic companion to Chris in Resident Evil 5. Carlos to Jill, and I will argue that actually I like Carlos's portrayal in Resident Evil 3 Remake. I like a lot. And I will say a good thing about Resident Evil 3 Remake, the characters were handled really well. They had far more personality, you know, and it made me really like Carlos. I wanted to see him again. And then when Capcom said, all right, Chris's voice is going to have the same voice actor in Village as Carlos had in Resident Evil 3 Remake, I was like, oh, now we can never, if they keep the consistency, now we can never see him because they have the same voice. It's not even like it's changed a little bit. Nothing against Jeff Shine. He's a great voice for Chris or Carlos, but like, you can't have both. You know what I mean? So, like, yes, I would love to see it. And I don't think everybody, like, you don't have to have an entire game just focused on this side character that they completely forgot, but at least a nice reference or some nice closure or something that happened to them would suffice. You know, and it goes back to the Resident Evil 3 epilogues. Like, they didn't know if they were going to be making more after that. They just kind of closed out a lot of stories in a way that maybe wasn't fully satisfying, but more satisfying than just never touching on them ever again. You know what I mean? And
I get you exactly.
Yeah.
I get you. The main things, I think I agree with you about almost forgetting characters. You cannot bring them as the main character. That's it. But you can make them like side characters or let's say partner, like
Or
Sheva Alomar with the Chris Redfield.
or
It's
they have
okay.
something to do with what's
Ark
happening.
Thompson, yeah, exactly. Ark Thompson coming to help Leon as the main characters, like this, for example, like this.
Another
Okay.
example to that would be like, okay, let's say they continue with Chris investigating the BSAA in Resident Evil 9. Sheva doesn't have to be a playable character, but to have her and Josh working on their own division, trying to research it, and they just, you know, communicate like, oh, Sheva and Josh got this area.
Something in Africa, you mean something in
Yeah.
Africa, so they could.
A nice reference. A nice reference. Maybe,
great.
you know, get to see them, get to have a little chat, and like it's part of the story. It's not just shoehorned in. It is integral to what's happening, but it's not forced. It's part of the story, and it's a nice like, oh, there she is. We finally get to see her again. She actually just she continued on working with Chris in some capacity rather than just being completely forgotten.
Thank you. Last two questions. Sorry to take your time.
No, I love these questions. This is a
yeah.
fantastic group of questions you put together.
Actually, there is something I want to say it in the Arab communities. I believe there is a lot of fans. They are in deep details about Resident Evil. They love Resident Evil just like not like a casual game. They love it in details. Sometimes they ask me question. I cannot reply to them. How deep their question is.
Yeah.
So my God, when you communicate in my channel as between time to time we go on the live, they are asking, mashallah, they are asking great questions about it, and every day they are asking. So last two questions. The first one is, if there is a Code Veronica remake, what the only one thing that you really want to be changed in the remake?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I'm not for change. Like if you're remaking it, you're updating the graphics, you're updating the controls, you're updating maybe some dialogue. You're respecting the original while not changing it too much. Again, Resident Evil 1
This is
remake.
a standard, JJ. This is standard. If it's remake, that means a new design, a new great graphic. This is standard. I want something like you really want it to be changed. For
Oh
example,
yeah, that's kind of where I'm
adding
going.
new characters, removing a new characters, adding a new
Yeah.
monster, just like this way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there's things with Code Veronica that, you know, I played it a few times since I was a kid, and there are some things that I do think they could change. Again, this is a situation where I'd say I'm not a big fan of change, just keep it the same and add more. But, well, Code Veronica, they could do a little bit with the, there, you know, if I go back to my recent playthrough, there's a few things I said that were probably better than the example I'm going to give now. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but the layout, there's a lot of unnecessary backtracking in there where it got kind of convoluted in some areas, and I love backtracking, but that game did get a little bit like a little too much in certain areas. It got bogged down a little bit because of having to go through certain areas. It could be streamlined a little bit more. I don't want linear. I want that, you know, the same Resident Evil formula, just streamlined a bit more. What else? What else would I like to see changed? I don't like Bandersnatches. I never like Bandersnatches. I hate that Stretch Armstrong enemy.
Yeah, it's annoying. Oh my god.
I don't like them.
Oh my god.
I always thought that was a dumb design.
Yeah, annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could tweak that.
How about the fight between Alexia and Wesker? Actually, Wesker, he became very weak in this.
Yeah, he was kind of like copped out and put Chris. I think it should still go that way, where he's like, you know what, this isn't my fight to fight. Chris, you handle it, but done in a way where he doesn't just kind of cave in like a baby and just bail.
What he said in Wesker report, he said that Alexia, the T Veronica virus is extremely powerful that I cannot face. So actually, this is a smart way.
Yeah.
By knowing you cannot, if he have the virus and he knows that he have the we called it Spencer virus because there is no name in the virus.
Yeah.
When he was in children Wesker project, he used to be small. He used to be child. The Spencer gave him some kind of virus. This is why he did not die in Resident Evil 1 remake. So he knows he have virus, but also he's a smart one to know that the T Veronica virus it's much stronger. So this is why he think it's not now to face her.
And at that time, he also wasn't fully aware of his capabilities. Like, he was very new to being returned to life and having these abilities. He didn't know what he was capable of, and he was not stupid, right? Why
so
would I fight
okay
when I don't need to fight
he run
this?
away?
Huh?
It's okay for you if he run away? In the remake?
In the remake, I wouldn't say run away, but to say, all right, this isn't my battle, Chris, this is you. Like, that's totally fine because he's not stupid. Why would he fight that when he doesn't have to fight that? He's more behind the scenes than anything. Him approaching is a great setup for interaction between him and Claire, him and Chris, but, you know, other than that, like, does he really need to be fighting her?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
last question. Yeah, okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Last question, JJ. What is the game that you was like? For example, you expected to be very good, but it's become excellent, or you expected to be excellent to become phenomenal. It will make your jaw drops. Like, oh my god, what is this? You're expecting it to be good, but wow, like this.
Easy question. Resident Evil 1 remake. I was expecting it to be phenomenal. I was so excited for that game. And like I literally I would see screenshots and I was like, is this real life? Why does this look so good? This is literally what I remember, but better, like insane. And then I played it and I was like that was it's crazy. It's been so many years since that. And I played so many Resident Evil remakes where like, this is really good, but why did they cut that? Or this is really good, but why did they change that? Where like that game through and through, I was like, this is incredible. This is better than I could have ever imagined. Why is this so good?
Exactly.
This shouldn't be this good. We had it too good. Yeah. We had it too good. It set the bar too high.
Yeah, I remember that moment. Oh my god, JJ. Oh my god.
Yeah.
One of the iconic screenshot is the Spencer, which is in your background, if you remember that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember the screenshot of the Spencer mansion?
Yep.
Exactly, almost same of your background. I remember this one. I used to it in the magazine and just waiting. You know, I will tell you a story, quickly story. In my country, Kuwait, they said there is a new game is coming, Resident Evil 1 remake. That's it. Then I have to find the release date. I don't know anything. I don't have any sources. There is no internet, nothing. So Every week I wait the new issue of the magazine. There is nothing Resident Evil. Every day I go to the nearest shop. There is a name called Resident Evil 1 in GameCube. They don't know anything. They say, what are you saying? I said, come on. There is like, nobody knows
Give me
JJ. So
something.
I remember the time I saw it oh my God.
Yeah.
I saw it just in front of me. Come on. Wow. These
Dude.
days, it's buzz.
That's
Okay.
what kicked off my hype for like more remakes. Like I wanted, like if I could have it my way, right? And I know there's remakes that are great. I love 2. I love 2. I love 4. But if I could have it my way, man, Resident Evil 1 was so good. If I could like scrap all the remakes, it's hard to do because they're good. But if I could scrap them and just have 2 and 3 remade in the same exact style as 1 on the GameCube, in a heartbeat, I'd do it. In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Numbered.
Thank you very much, JJ. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this almost more than 2 hours, I think.
Dang, we're
Anything you want to say to the Arab community? They admire you. They follow you. Believe me, you can see by in YouTube dashboard in the you can see by in your channel.
Yeah.
You can see the Arab
Oh,
countries.
yeah.
Just
There's
take a look.
Strong
Believe me,
Resident
it's a
Evil
decent
community.
number.
Yeah,
Decent number. Any things you want to say to them, please? For
you're building up the
finishing
pressure
it.
for me, but all I want to say is just I appreciate you guys. Honestly, thank you so much. For your passion for Resident Evil, for being part. We're all part of this community, and honestly, like the reason why we have our channel, the reason why you have your channel, is because there's such a passionate community of Resident Evil fans from all over the world that enjoy this, and the fact that you guys enjoy our content enough to come by and chat and hit that like and leave comments and just be part of something bigger is I can't thank you guys enough. Honestly, the reason why I'm here talking with you, the reason why I get to meet you is because of this community. So no, I can't thank you guys enough, and I appreciate you, and I'm just very grateful to be part of this community. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me on this this podcast. This was a lot of fun.
By the way, what's my name?
Your name is, I got it, Fawaz, and I probably mispronounced it. I'm sorry.
No, it's excellent. Just say it again,
Did
please.
it? Fawaz.
Fawaz, yeah, it's Fawaz. Some people say it's Fawaz. No, Fawaz.
Fawaz.
It's like Fawaz.
I nailed
Thank
it.
you
That's the
very
first.
much, JJ.
That's the first ever name I pronounced correctly. Awesome.
Thank you very much. You pronounce it perfectly, not correctly. Thank you, JJ. Now we will stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He's a really nice guy. Yeah, he was super nice. I